Me, LIFESPILLER79. It's my show. Glad to be back, man. I'm doing a video response to my gaming history by my good boy Dave, or also known as I'm a Game Geek. He just hits over 300 subscribers, which is a big milestone. So happy for him because he's always doing something big, man, and his channel is awesome. So definitely check him out. I'm gonna leave a link to his channel in the description. But I wanted to split mine up, talking about my gaming history. First, I wanted to talk about all the consoles that I got over time, or originally had before I started collecting. I started out with the Atari 2600. I remember getting that probably about 10 or 11, and then actually about 9. And then later on, I got the Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Then I got the TurboGrafx 16. Then I got the Master System. Then I eventually got a Nintendo 64. I moved on to the, after that I got PS2. Then also later on I got a GameCube. Also, I had the PS3, and then the last system I had got before I started collecting was the 360 Slim. Oh man! And then on my gaming side, I guess my gaming history kind of starts, like I've already told people, it started with Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, and actually, this was probably, well, I had Atari, of course, and so I had some of my first home games that I used to play was like Pac-Man, Pitfall, Battle, Tank, and stuff like that, and Centipede, and Galaga, and stuff like that. I think it was out at the time. I'm trying to remember all the games that came out. Those were awesome to me because just the concept of being able to play games at home was a big deal. You know, being able to just have your own little thing that you could do and you know, be able to play with your friends. But when Mario came, I guess for me, when I think about my gaming history, I think, or the evolution or the timeline, and I actually did a video. It's funny that he even talked about doing your gaming history. I did a video a while back, and I might leave a link to that. It's called My Journey from Retro to Current Gen. I probably did about 1.5 years ago. And I just kind of went down a spiel of things, just talking about my gaming history. But when I think about my gaming history, I just think about games that kind of made an impact, that made me stop and think about stuff and you know, how awesome it was at that time. And so for me, the first game that I just came to mind, of course, and for a lot of gamers, was Mario. With the combination of Duck Hunt, being able to get the red gun with your little, your Nintendo release, and, you know, having your controllers, and because being able to play a game at the arcade but bringing it home was a different concept to gamers at that time. You know, we were newbies to this concept. I mean, they were working on that concept with Pong and a lot of Atari games, and you know, at the time. So that was very impactful to me, and just a lot of memories that stood out. Just being able to spend a lot of quality time with my friends, with my family, and just we were just laughing because at the notion or the idea that you could be able to take a game from the arcade and actually play that at home. Now one of the games that, another game that made an impact on me because it incorporated a storyline that was different, you know, and being on a side scroller, I fell in love with side scrollers instantly, but it was challenging, but it was rewarding. But it was a lot of things. It was a combination of several things. And that game was Castlevania. It's another game in my collection that I'm so glad to have. Castlevania has a lot to offer. And if you've never played it, I definitely suggest you pick this up. It changed my thought process. It made me think about each power-up that I had, or each magic power that I could use, which one was the advantage, disadvantages, and stuff like that. And just the music, the storyline, the gameplay was awesome. Which brings me to another game that was impactful to me, was which is my favorite NES game, if you don't know by now, is Mega Man 2. I love this game because this was, to me, was the first open world game that I ever got to play where I didn't have to play a linear path. One that was already set, and you pretty much only had certain options and stuff like that. Some would say Mario was kind of open world because you could just skip levels and stuff like that. But this was really open world, being able to utilize other people's powers against them for their weakness, like making, you know, like fire against water, or water against fire and stuff like that, and all kinds of stuff. But the soundtrack, the gameplay, the elements, the challenge level was at such a high for me at an impactful age of 12. So I loved it. Now this next game, I didn't think that we were going to be able to go higher, you know, or better. I thought that games would remain a certain way until the Super Nintendo was released, and I saw all these vivid colors, and you know, and I saw Mario being taken to another world, and you know, and he had all these different levels, and the music, and the battles at the end of each world. And you know, the next game that was impactful to me was Super Mario World. Definitely made its impact on me, and it still to this day is like one of my favorite Marios of all time. I think it's just so nostalgic for me because it was one of my best Christmases ever, as a kid anyway. As an adult, I've had better ones, but I'll never forget the Christmas of '92, man, looking under the Christmas tree, and I saw the big box, and I was already thinking to myself, but when I got it, I think all those emotions being conveyed at one time just made this game that much more special to me. But to actually play this game, succeed, conquer, and beat the game, and pretty much find all the secrets, Super Mario World incorporates a lot of fun. I mean, it's just, the game is just fun. It's not too challenging, but there are stages that will push you. But this is a must buy with the Super Nintendo for sure. And the next game that was impactful to me actually made me want to get, because I had a Super Nintendo for years. You know, I had a Super Nintendo for a certain period of time anyway. And then I saw this game at the store. We used to go down, me and my boys, we used to go down to the mall. And we would go to a place called Montgomery Ward, and you know, all these little department stores, and they would allow you to play the games. And you could sit there as long as you wanted to. Nobody really would say nothing to you unless you were making a lot of noise. And I didn't have a Sega Genesis at the time. Friends around me had one. Some of my other friends, they were split. They had the Super Nintendo. And so the first time I ever saw Sonic, the music, the game, it's hard to put in words, but when I saw the game, it definitely impacted me. It definitely opened my eyes, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. This guy being able to spin around, little hedgehog moving at such a rapid rate. I think that was what really caught my eye. And then all these worlds, you know, that you're being able to play. And like I said, I'm a big fan of side scrollers. I love side scroller, single player type of games. And, you know, so yeah, Sonic definitely plays a big part in my life and in my gaming history. And Sonic 2 is even better to me. I like Sonic 2 better than Sonic 1. But then technology wise, I didn't know we were going to have being able to incorporate certain technologies in order to be able to play games. In between the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, I had got a TurboGrafx-16, and I thought this was pretty cool. It looks like a credit card, or the size of a credit card. Is real thin. You being able to put in like a chip, and this is Legendary Axe, one of my favorite games from TurboGrafx-16. I picked this up recently, man, and still, when I opened up the package, I felt like a little kid, man. It just took me back to a time where you just got this one character. It's like man versus wild or whatever, and you know that you're on this mission to save someone. You know, he's basically on this mission to save somebody. But I just thought it was so interesting and so cool that you could just put in a chip, and these devices will last for eternity. I mean, I'll never have to worry about blowing this or cleaning this or anything. It'll always last. Now the next game that I got, or I'm finna look at this time. Okay, we closing in. The next game that I got was a 3D game. I never man, I saw this one at the store as well, was Super Mario 64. I thought this was pretty interesting because it was a 3D game. They were taking, it was like an experimental thing. And Nintendo have had success. They've had failure. And this was definitely a success, man. This was definitely a console seller. And the concept of being able to play 3D World and just having this whole open environment around you. And this was another open world game that was really awesome. And it definitely pushed Nintendo, the company, to another level. So definitely a good game. Next game, first time I saw this game, I saw the opening credits, the opening scene, just the piano keys of the game. And the game was so controversial. I think that's what was more appealing, was the controversy versus the actual game itself. But then when you played the game, the characters, the story, I mean, everybody played his part in this game, and it was so awesome that it worked out. And Grand Theft Auto 3 is definitely an impactful game that changed gaming history forever. I mean, it was like one of those 3D games that people didn't think that we were going to be able to put such or incorporate all kinds of things: prostitution, money laundering, violence, hitman missions, police chasing, all kinds of crazy stuff. So don't look down on the Grand Theft Auto series, man. Definitely pick it up. It still holds up to this day. Every now and then I pick it up and I play it again. And I've never really been a big fan. I have a lot of race car games like the Need for Speed, and I got other Turismo, Gran Turismo and stuff like that. But when I think about race car games, the first one that always stands out to me is Burnt Out Paradise. I love the up-tempo, fast racing, damage to your vehicles, all kinds of crazy stuff that can happen in one embodiment of one game. So this game was definitely a game changer. It impacted, it made companies think twice about the development of their game. That you just can't do something just ordinary. You gotta go in. So now it kind of set the standard, that you gotta make it about as realistic as possible. If we could go at high speeds, hitting around sharp edge corners, what will be the result? And that's Burnt Out Paradise. This game was another game. The next game was another game that was impactful to me because I didn't think about being able to play back in history or playing in certain timelines and making it fun. I knew what an assassin was, but when I saw this game and I saw Altair jumping off of one of his viewpoints, I was sold. That was it. I wanted a PS3 at that point. I mean, there was no needing to ask me any question. I knew that was going to be the first game that I was going to get at that time, and that was Assassin's Creed, the first one. Definitely a good game, man. Don't sleep on it. There is a little bit of repetitiveness to it, but I did accomplish this game, and I enjoyed each moment of it. I enjoyed more of anything just them being able to tell an awesome story about Desmond and his lineage to all these characters. And as you know, the Assassin's Creed series continued on with that, letting him know about his ancestors and stuff like that. So this was definitely another changer. And for those who follow me on my channels, they know that I've been diving into the RPGs. Didn't play them much, but it's transcended me over time. And one of the first major RPG games that I played was Mass Effect 2. I had so much fun with this, incorporating the third-person shooter type of game with the with RPG elements in it, being able to make moral decisions and changing the storyline of your game, being able to go alternate routes, and those are just like a few things. I could go on and on forever, man, but I don't want to run out on just balling out on all these kind of things. But I know that for me, over time, I used to be very one-dimensional with my gaming. Like, I used to only want to play single-player side-scrollers, but now I play first-person shooter, third-person shooter, RPGs. I play online every now and then. I think I've evolved as a gamer pretty much. But that's just a response to I'm a game geek, about my game history. I'm LifeSpiller79.